Explaining contract terms without giving legal advice. Introduction, the question every agent hears. As we learned in the previous section, AI can be an excellent tool for helping buyers and sellers understand the Arizona residential resale purchase contract. It can summarize sections, organize timelines, explain contingencies, and help clients navigate what can often feel like an overwhelming document. However, understanding a contract and interpreting a contract are two very different things. This distinction is where many Arizona real estate professionals unknowingly place themselves at risk. Consider a common scenario. A buyer is reviewing the purchase contract and asks, "What happens if the seller refuses to make repairs?" A few minutes later, the seller asks, "Can I cancel the contract if another buyer offers me more money?" These questions happen every day in Arizona real estate transactions. Most agents genuinely want to help. After all, they have experience, transaction knowledge, and practical insight. The challenge is knowing where contract explanation ends and legal interpretation begins. As artificial intelligence becomes more common, this challenge becomes even more important because AI can generate responses that sound like legal advice, even when the licensee never intended to provide it. Understanding these boundaries is critical for protecting your clients, your broker, and your license. Understanding the unauthorized practice of law. The unauthorized practice of law, commonly referred to as UPL, occurs when a person who is not licensed to practice law performs legal services reserved for attorneys. Arizona real estate licensees occupy a unique position. Under Article 26 of the Arizona Constitution, licensees may complete and assist with real estate documents while acting within the scope of their license. This authority allows agents to fill in approved forms, explain transaction procedures, and assist clients with the completion of contracts. However, this authority has limits. Licensees may explain what the contract says. Licensees may explain how a transaction process works. Licensees may explain deadlines, contingencies, and procedures. Licensees may not provide legal opinions, interpret legal rights, or advise clients regarding legal consequences. That distinction may sound simple, but in practice it is where many mistakes occur. The difference between explanation and interpretation. Imagine a buyer asks, "What is the inspection period?" A compliant response might be, "The inspection period is the time frame established in the contract that allows the buyer to conduct inspections and review the property's condition." Now imagine the buyer asks, "If I discover foundation issues during the inspection period, should I cancel the contract?" That question is different. The buyer is no longer asking what the contract says. The buyer is asking what they should do. That moves the conversation toward legal advice and decision-making. A licensee can explain available options under the contract. The licensee should avoid telling the client which legal option they should choose. Common questions from buyers. Buyers frequently ask questions involving financing, inspections, appraisals, title issues, and contractual remedies. Examples include, "Can I get my earnest money back? Can I terminate the contract? Am I protected if the appraisal comes in low? What happens if my loan is denied?" Many of these questions involve legal rights that depend on the specific facts of the transaction. The safest approach is often to explain the relevant contract section and encourage the client to seek legal counsel when legal interpretation is needed. A good rule to remember is this: explain the provision, avoid interpreting the outcome. Common questions from sellers. Sellers often present similar challenges. Questions may include, "Do I have to make repairs? Can I reject the buyer's request? What happens if the buyer misses a deadline? Can I accept a backup offer?" Again, these questions often involve legal rights, contractual obligations, and potential remedies. A licensee's role is to explain the process and the relevant contract language, not to predict legal outcomes. The AI legal advice problem, artificial intelligence, creates a new challenge because it often answers legal questions with confidence. Imagine entering the following prompt: "Should the buyer cancel the contract after discovering water damage?" AI may immediately provide a recommendation. The recommendation may sound professional. It may even sound reasonable. The problem is that the AI does not know all the facts. It is not licensed to practice law, and it is not responsible for the consequences of the recommendation. If the licensee copies and forwards that advice to a client, the risk becomes very real. Remember, AI-generated legal advice is still legal advice. The fact that the computer generated it does not eliminate the risk. Contingencies and legal boundaries. Contingencies often create confusion because they involve both procedural and legal considerations. A licensee may explain the purpose of an inspection contingency, the purpose of an appraisal contingency, the purpose of a financing contingency, the deadlines associated with those contingencies. However, when a client asks whether they should exercise a contingency right, the conversation often moves beyond explanation and into legal interpretation. This is where careful communication becomes essential. Default provisions and contract remedies. Default provisions are another area where caution is required. Clients frequently ask, what happens if the other party breaches the contract? The answer often depends upon numerous facts and legal considerations. A licensee can identify where default provisions appear within the contract and explain the general purpose of those provisions. The licensee should avoid providing legal conclusions regarding what will happen in a dispute. Only an attorney can provide legal advice regarding the potential outcome of litigation or enforcement actions. One of the most valuable skills a real estate professional can develop is recognizing when legal counsel is appropriate. Some agents worry that referring clients to an attorney makes them appear less knowledgeable. In reality, the opposite is true. Experienced professionals understand the limits of their role. Clients often gain confidence when they see their agent exercising caution and professionalism. When a question involves legal interpretation, legal consequences, litigation risk, contract enforcement, or legal strategy, referring the client to qualified legal counsel is often the best course of action. Using AI compliantly, artificial intelligence can still be extremely valuable when used properly. Instead of asking, should the buyer cancel the contract, a compliant prompt might be, explain the inspection contingency contained in the Arizona residential resale purchase contract using plain language suitable for a first-time homebuyer. Do not provide legal advice. Notice the difference. The prompt requests education rather than legal analysis. That distinction dramatically reduces risk. The best AI prompts focus on explanation, organization, education, and communication, not legal conclusions. Broker supervision and risk management. As AI tools become more common, brokers should develop policies regarding their use. Agents should understand when AI can be used and when professional judgment is required. Brokerages may establish approved prompts, review procedures, and training programs to reduce risk and promote consistency. A.A.C. R4-28-1101 requires Arizona licensees to protect and promote the interests of their clients while dealing fairly with all parties. AI does not change those obligations. Professional responsibility remains with the licensee, not the software. Conclusion: one of the greatest strengths of artificial intelligence is its ability to simplify complex information. One of its greatest dangers is its ability to sound like an attorney. Arizona real estate professionals must understand the difference between explaining a contract and interpreting a contract. They must recognize when a client needs information and when a client needs legal advice. And they must remember that AI should be used to educate, organize, and communicate, not to practice law. The most successful agents are not the ones who answer every question. They are the ones who know which questions require professional legal guidance. Online discussion question 1. What is the difference between explaining a contract provision and interpreting a contract provision? Answer: explaining a contract provision involves describing what the contract says, while interpreting a contract provision involves providing opinions regarding legal rights, obligations, or outcomes. Question 2. Why can AI-generated legal advice create risk for a licensee? Answer: AI may generate legal opinions or recommendations that are inaccurate, incomplete, or inappropriate for the specific transaction, potentially creating liability for the licensee. Question 3. When should a real estate professional refer a client to legal counsel? Answer: when questions involve legal interpretation, legal rights, litigation risks, contract enforcement, or legal strategy.